There's a legend out there that those who don't receive a proper burial will never find peace, or those who have their burial disturbed will never find peace, that their spirit will relentlessly wander the earth for eternity. Now, let's hope that this isn't the case, because today we're looking at some people with lost gravesites. From Leonardo da Vinci to Mozart, let's talk about this and more only in today's video. Starting off this countdown, we have Leonardo da Vinci. Famous painter, engineer, scientist, theorist, sculptor, and architect, Leonardo da Vinci was said to be buried in 1519 beneath the church in France. However, the church was later destroyed during the French Revolution. In 1863, the area was excavated and they found some tombstone fragments and some bones. So they thought, okay, this must be Da Vinci's remains. The only problem is that we don't know for sure. Scientists want to do a DNA testing on the bones to confirm it's him, but he never had any children, so what can we match the DNA to? In 2016, they found descendants of Da Vinci's half-brother. So now they want to compare their DNA with a lock of what they think and hope is Da Vinci's hair. Imagine being a descendant of Leonardo da Vinci though, must be really cool. Or anyone famous, as a matter of fact, must be cool. In our 9th spot today, we have Nefertiti. Nefertiti was the queen of Egypt during the 18th dynasty, but a lot about her remains a mystery. We hardly know much about her. That's why archaeologists desperately want to find her grave. They hope by doing so, it will shed some light on who she was. In the 1880s, a multi-chambered tomb was discovered in Egypt. They believe that the tomb belonged to Akhenaten, her husband, and his daughter. In the tomb, there appeared to be a third chamber, but it was unfinished. Nobody was in the tomb, but they believed that it was created for Queen Nefertiti. But if she wasn't placed there, then where is she? To this day, we don't know where her grave is. In our 8th spot today, we have Mozart. In 1791, famous composer Mozart died of a mysterious illness. Some people even thought that he was poisoned. Alas, I think he died from chronic kidney disease. Anyways, after his passing, he was buried in St. Mark's Cemetery in Vienna. He was buried in a wooden coffin. But the plot in which he was buried in was shared with at least 4 or 5 different bodies. That was common at the time. Then, 10 years later, his grave was dug up by a grave robber and they took his skull. He claimed that he found Mozart's grave and that this was his skull. But there was no way to know for sure. In 2006, scientists tested the skull and results came back inconclusive. So we don't know for sure if that's his skull or even his grave. That's because he was laid to rest in an unmarked area. So maybe it wasn't even his grave. Moving on to number 7, we have Attila the Hun. If you've seen Night at the Museum, then you definitely know who this guy is. Anyways, Attila was the ruler of the Huns from 434 until his death in 453. He actually passed away on his wedding night, which is pretty tragic if you ask me. When he was buried, he was placed in a trio of caskets. They were made of iron, silver, and gold. Not only that, but they didn't want anyone to know where he was buried. So anyone who dug his grave or helped was later killed to keep it a secret. It remained a mystery until 2014. That's when a construction worker claimed that he found his burial site. The site contained human and horse skeletons, jewelry, and weapons. But it was later found that this was just one big hoax. Attila's final resting spot has still never been found. Coming in at number 6, we have Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was a king of the ancient Greek kingdom of Macedon. He died in Babylon in 323 BC, and that's a mystery in itself. We don't know for sure how he died. Some say he died of malaria, others say it was natural causes. Others believe that he was poisoned. Either way, after his death, he was buried in a gold sarcophagus in Egypt. But later he was moved to Alexandria. Only problem was, it was then repeatedly robbed. Emperor Caligula apparently stole his armor breastplate, Cleopatra took some gold, and the gold sarcophagus that he was buried in was melted down and then replaced with another one. The tomb was then resealed in 190 AD. But over the years, a number of wars, earthquakes, and tsunamis have destroyed the tomb. To this day, 140 searches have taken place to find the tomb. None have been successful. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Genghis Khan, a pretty controversial and dark figure in history. Some of the stuff that he did was quite messed up, to say the least. Anyways, in 1227, Genghis Khan passed away. Again, we don't know 100% sure how. Some say that he fell off a horse and died of his injuries. Others think that he got malaria. Others believe that he was assassinated. Either way, his dying wishes were to be buried somewhere secret. So an army of men took his body to Mongolia. Anyone they met along the way was killed so that no one knew where he was being buried. After he was buried, they trampled the ground with 1,000 horses, so it didn't look like anyone was freshly buried there. To this day, no one has found his tomb. Dozens of searches have taken place. None have been successful. In our fourth spot, we have King Kamehameha. King Kamehameha was the founder and first ruler of the Kingdom of Hawaii. When he passed away in 1819, his advisors hid his body in a secret cave. According to a proverb, and I quote, "The morning star alone knows where Kamehameha's bones are guarded." It's believed that no one will ever find the cave where he is buried. Now, one of his successors did try to find his tomb in the 19th century. Now, he did manage to find 2 skeletons in a secret burial cave, but it's still unsure if the bones actually belong to the king. In our third spot, we have Queen Boudicca. Queen Boudicca was a very important leader in British history during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. After she lost her final battle, she fled north, where she died. Some say she took her own life with poison with her daughters. Others say that she died from shock or from illness. Either way, it's said that she was buried in a tomb filled with riches, but her tomb has never been found. Rumor has it, though, that her tomb is buried under a platform at King's Cross railway station in London. But unless we start tearing up the station, we might never find it. In our second spot today, we have Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine was a writer, political activist, philosopher, and theorist. He passed away in 1809 and was buried in upstate New York. His grave was labeled with a stone marker that read, "In memory of Thomas Paine." 10 years later, his body was dug up by his rival turned admirer, William Cobbett. He vowed to return Paine back to England and give him a proper burial. Unfortunately, William died in 1835, and at that time he still had Thomas's bones. He never buried him, so who knows where the bones are now, or who has them, or where they are. And in our number 1 spot today, we have King Alfred the Great. King Alfred the Great was the king of West Saxons from 871 to 886. He passed away in 899, and he was buried and unearthed a number of times. He was first buried in Winchester in 899. Then his body was moved to another church in 904 so that he could be buried next to his family. Then eventually he was moved again, this time to the monastery Hyde Abbey. However, a little while later, the abbey was wiped out and his tomb was ransacked, after which he became lost. For years, people have searched for the king's tomb. All they have found so far is one single human bone, but it doesn't even belong to the king. It's a female bone. It's thought that when the tomb was ransacked, they scattered the king's bones all about. So they probably will never be found. All right, guys, that's all for today's video. Let's move quickly along to our comment shout out portion, but also let me know in the comments below if you want to see part 2. Let me know. I'll be shouting out comments from the video, top 10 barbaric medical practices still used today. Zayn commented, "So you still sneaking in the comment section?" Yes, I'm constantly reading comments because I need to find them for the comment shout out, but also I like replying to them. Hans Plord commented, "You asked for a comment, so there it is. I like you a lot, girl." Thank you, Hans. You seem like a good man, except for when I hear Hans, I think of Hans from Frozen, and he definitely was not a good man, so let's hope you're the opposite. And Philo 1969 commented, "Damn, fecal soup, pass, thanks." Yeah, I almost barfed when I read about that. No, thank you. All right, guys, that's all the comments I'm shouting out for today's video. Make sure to comment something down below for a chance to be featured in my next comment shout out. And as always, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to Most Amazing Top 10 for more amazing videos. I've been your host, Lindsay Ivan, and I'll see you when I see ya. Bye.